This is the WyzGuy Radio Show, a podcast dedicated to educating and inspiring through conversations with today's top talents in the world of glass. What's happening? Welcome to A Glass Blower's Companion, episode 13. How the hell are you doing today? Sorry for the delay on episodes. I have been quite busy behind the torch getting a lot of shit made. Unfortunately, also my wife got sick. She didn't get the corona, but she got the flu. And so I was home taking care of her for a week. She ran a fever over 100 degrees for a week and actually got tested. Thank God came back as negative, and I actually waited about 2 weeks before I got around anybody just in case it was a false negative and I got sick, and you know how all this crazy shit goes right now as we're all trying to steer our way through this madness. But today's episode is featuring Scoz. His real name is Scott Tribble. Scott initially was on this podcast, which is just fucking mind-blowing, back on episode 140, which was December 9th, 2016. So this is May 11th that I'm recording this intro. We recorded this over the weekend. And it was a great chat with Scott. We had a lot of... the fun thing about bringing on artists that I enjoy the most, that I've been doing and working with glass for as long as I have, is we really don't talk a lot about glass. We talk about everything but. We do get into some glass talk. I do pick his brain on some glass techniques, applications, prep, all that kind of stuff. But really for him, I think it was a good outlet for him to just kind of share what he's been going through the last 4 years, as the more or less last 5 years, as this industry has grown, had its quote-unquote bubble burst. Instead of artists that were getting $40,000 for a piece of glass that they were making, they may now get $4,000 for it, kind of thing. And Scott was a part of that wave, and he discusses and really gives some really good transparency, the word I'm looking for, just in terms of what he was going through. I didn't really know it myself when we first interviewed and talked, and it might be even hard for you as a listener to get that he was going through some shit when we first interviewed. Just some battling with some demons in a sense, not really negative things that were causing him to do dumb shit in life, but just the whole idea of ego and ego getting in the way, and he discusses a lot about that. And I don't want to give away too much about the talk, but it was definitely one of those things where I'm glad we did. And his signal on his phone does kind of go in and out here and there, so I just going to give you a heads up for that. It just is what it is. But again, it was a good chat. We both were able to share some insights into our lives and where we were and where we are now as well, which was good for me. It was the first time in a while that I've talked to somebody outside of my studio, family-wise, I should say. So it was a good conversation. I do have some other artists that are lined up now that my life has settled down a little bit. One of the things I've been trying to do is just really get as much glass as I can get done in my personal space, because I know once the parks open back up over at Disney, I'm going to be back there on a regular basis, and my studio personal time is going to go back to what it was before, which was like 1 day a week. As of last week, we actually did go back to work. I was pretty excited. The parks are not open yet. Shanghai Disneyland actually opened today to some serious regulations as they're trying to test out to see if the parks can actually worldwide open back up again. But at Arribas Brothers, we opened up our warehouse last week. Each artist, we're getting 2 days a week. We're only having 2 artists at a time working in our space, just to kind of keep the quote-unquote social distancing, having to wear a mask while I'm working. And it's one of the things I talk about in the chat with Scott is I haven't really ever worn any kind of face protection when I work. Over the years, I've seen female glass artists doing that, and I completely understand. The face shield is important to have just to keep the heat off your face and your body. But having that one extra layer of protection on your face, I was actually pretty comfortable. The only uncomfortable thing I was really dealing with was just wearing the bands around my ears. And my wife and I are making face masks for myself, but also just for us for just getting around town and stuff. And I've seen a couple different variations of ways to avoid having to put the bands around your ears. And one is just wearing like a headband that's got little buttons on the side. They call them ear savers, basically. And then there's another variation of it where there's like a little kind of a S-clip gimmick that goes on the back of your head that would basically just connect the straps together, for lack of a better term, so that they're not wrapped around your ears. And that was the only really issue that I dealt with. I found ways to use my glasses to kind of hold the band around the glasses so that it wasn't putting pressure on my ear. But then at times the pressure from the rubber band that I was using, that wasn't an actual rubber band, it was like more of a hair tie, was actually putting pressure from the eyeglass arm on my ear, if that makes any sense. So. But besides that, it felt really good to get back into my space with my people there at work, and I got to work with Miguel Arribas. I'm going to put some video up here pretty soon. One fun thing too is they had approached me about helping them get some social media and some YouTube stuff going, which behind the scenes I'm working on, because I have been doing my own behind the scenes, getting my YouTube stuff organized. As of yesterday, I uploaded pretty much every single episode that I've ever produced for this podcast up onto YouTube. I have different categories listed. The Glassblower Companion is on there as just like all the basic episodes. And then I went through and pulled out specific ones. I did this series, So You Want to Be a Glassblower, that was actually published by the Flow magazine, just like in terms of editorial. So I have that along with some other podcast episodes that were associated with the Glassblowers Companion series. And then I have... as part of this new version of the WyzGuy Media, WyzGuy Radio podcast with Glassblower's Companion, I now have the WyzGuy Minute podcast episodes. And those have their own specific space on my YouTube channel as a playlist. So you'll see on there'll be a Glassblower's Companion playlist. There'll be the WyzGuy Minute playlist. There's tutorials, some videos that I like, other things I'm sharing, etc. So definitely, if you want to go check out and subscribe to my YouTube channel, the YouTube is WyzGuy Media. Just check it out. I'll put the link in the show notes. But I'm going to be growing that. I'm going to be putting a ton of tutorials. My wife and I this week are actually going to be shooting a whole bunch of videos. And the series that I'm going to be calling, it's basically going to be under a playlist called Glassblowing 101. But the series is just going to be called When Getting Started. I know a lot of people out there, a lot of you listening to the show are glass artists that have been doing this for a long time, but there's also still a lot of people out there that are very interested in this type of art and are asking questions. And I'm not teaching currently, but I do have students that are waiting to come back to class. And so to me, this is an important part of what I do for my show, is to helping the newer glassblower as well as helping those of you out there that have been doing this forever. I'd like to focus on a specific person for this content I'm creating. However, I do want to also share content for everybody, if that makes any sense. So, again, if you could help out the show by leaving a review, a written review, and a star review, I do greatly appreciate it. Also, if you have not yet subscribed to the YouTube channel, you can find me out there on WyzGuy Media on YouTube. And also, you can find this podcast on all podcast platforms. That's iHeartRadio, iTunes, Stitcher, you name it, it's all out there. Spotify. All those podcast apps all have the show out there, and many more as well. So, as that being said, I'm going to go ahead and stop rambling, let you guys get to this interview. Again, thank you so much for tuning in. Thanks for being patient as I have been just getting episodes done when I can. Trying to take more advantage of some other content that I'm doing behind the scenes, as well as just get my own stuff in the studio done. So, hope you enjoy this interview with Scott Tribble, a.k.a. Scoz. Again, thanks so much. Leave reviews and all that kind of stuff for me, and share on the social medias. You can follow me out there on Instagram at Glassblowers Companion, and also my personal Instagram is out there. It's on J. Michael Glass. So you can also find me out there where I'm posting more pictures of pipes and stuff like that I'm working on, which is at jmichael_functionals. So thanks again for tuning in. We'll talk to you next time on a Glassblowers Companion. Take care of yourselves. Love you so much. Be safe out there, and we'll talk to you soon. Peace. Hey, what's going on, Scott? Welcome back to the show.
Right on. Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, good to catch up with you. We were kind of catching up here before I hit record, so I just wanted to hit record so we can keep on with the conversation here.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, last time we talked, I was in a little bit of a weird kind of funk in my life. I guess I couldn't see it at the time, but now that I'm out of it, I kind of look back and I was like, man, that was a pretty weird few years for me right there.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Transition.
Yeah, when you sent me that text before, I was like, huh, interesting, because I didn't really get any kind of vibe from that at all. But it's amazing, like how humans are. How we adapt to things.
Man, sorry for cutting you off. I was kind of getting excited there, but I think I just kind of was a little bit. I just had like a little bit of a chip on my shoulder, maybe. I don't know. I had some things that I was just really having a hard time like letting go of, and just like I just needed to mature and kind of grow up in some ways, and I just took my sweet time about it. It probably took me till I was like my mid-30s or something before I even really started thinking like that. But it was like a pretty powerful psychedelic experience that kind of slapped me in the face, really, and it kind of just showed me that I was just like not making good choices and just kind of more operating out of like an ego-based kind of place. And I was able to kind of get this outside perspective of myself that I had never had before, and it was really eye-opening. And then from there, I kind of just tried to, make some changes and just be a little more conscious about the way I go through life and choices I make and stuff. And
do you think it was because of like initially like what started that mindset, the ego side of things? Do you think it was like finding success in your work that was kind of, because I look at like our industry, it's full of rock stars in a sense, and some of the rock stars have these big egos that are the glass holes of the industry, and then some of them are like fucking down to earth, like kind of cats, so it's
yeah, no, totally. I think it's kind of a slippery slope there, and I think that like fame is a bit of a trap, and success can be a bit of a trap depending on what your view of it is. It's like we all want this recognition, and we all want money, and we all want praise, and all these things. But like in the end of it all, is that really good for you? You know what I mean? It's not if you believe it, because it's all kind of like a lot of people who have very limited perspective on things, and like they're praising people. I mean, you can look at like music industry is a good example of this. You got a lot of these guys get a lot of attention, all these rap stars and stuff, and it's like they get put up on this level where they're like God, and people just like freaking out. But it's like if they're dumb enough to believe that lie, you know what I mean? They're pretty much in a worse place than if it's like it's not a healthy place to be when your ego is that freaking absorbed, and you start to believe that you are some kind of God or you are something special. You know what I mean? And
yeah, totally. It's like having a hype boy on you all the time.
Yeah, and it's like a roller coaster to live like that too, because you're always like, you're always on this up and down. It's like you're doing a show or something and you're on top of the world, and then it's like these big swings in your, in your life. And I think that's like a lot of drugs come into play with that too, because it's like trying to balance out some of that downs,
Yeah, yeah.
Because you get so used to those extreme highs, and then you're like trying to chase it when it's not there, kind of.
Well, especially too, man, like the way this industry was for a while, like, guys that and gals that are selling pieces for $100,000 fucking dollars, and it's like all of a sudden, I'm not gonna say the bubble bursted, but in a sense, the wave that we're all riding on, it's like it went back down, and then the collectors stopped buying shit that they were flipping, and it's just interesting. And now like the dabs and the concentrates are still there, but the flower side of things is starting to make a comeback. It's just like
which is cool. I think
so too.
It's a good balance. You know what I mean? And I think I think things tend to kind of swing like in kind of extreme directions, and then after a while it levels out. It's like always these fads and trends and stuff, and things get popular. But it's like when that big boom happened, that really kind of fucked me up, because I had been doing this already forever. So I was in this old school mindset of like how much stuff cost, and like a bong that was, when I first started blowing glass, you couldn't get $100 for a pipe. That was almost unheard of.
Yeah, totally. I mean? Yeah,
nobody spent that kind of money. So we all us really old school glass blowers that have been doing it for 20 years or something, we had kind of been like brainwashed into thinking that glass could never be worth that much. It was just like unbelievable, because we had been conditioned to think that, what prices were to be. And then beyond that, you kind of lock yourself into a price category. Like if you have all this body of work and you've always been charging X amount of dollars, and then all of a sudden you see somebody else charging like way more, you can't really just be like, oh, I'm going to charge way more now, because you were already kind of locked in at that price point. It's just no one's going to pay, 50 times or 100 times what they've been, what it's been.
Yeah.
Without some kind of weird, Jedi mind trick shit going on.
Right.
And I've seen it. I've seen all kinds of crazy shit happen, but I think you got to believe it yourself too. You know what I'm saying? And I think it's like when you charge a lot of money for something, if you don't actually believe it's worth that, you kind of feel like you're like, something feels disgenuine about it. You know what I mean? It doesn't feel quite right. And it's like, if you really are, really proud of your work and you really feel that confidence in it and this is what it costs and stuff, I think that vibe and that energy just kind of like carries and people pick up on that and then they, then it's more believable. It's like if you believe it, they believe it.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big part of it too. So it's kind of like sometimes you want to be somewhere, but you're not ready in your mind yet. And you can't really tell what's going on. You're just kind of like, man, why can't I get there? Like you have these, these price points you want to hit or these, whatever your goals are, you want to get there, but it's like there's something holding you back and it might not even be your work. It might just be something in your head, your perspective, and like I found that's what it kind of was for me. I just kind of needed to slow down and I needed to kind of focus more on myself, not get distracted by like the outside world and what other artists were doing and stuff, and just kind of try to find that little piece of this thing that like makes you stoked, it's like what you started doing this for in the first place.
Exactly.
And hanging on to that,
Yeah.
And it's like, we're all artists. It's like we get so caught up in money and shit. Money's just it's a big trap anyway. You spend your whole life chasing paper and it's like, that's a wasted life. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's like if life was an orange, you sat there and you ate the peel the whole time. You didn't even open it up and eat the delicious fruit inside. You know what I mean? You're
that's well said.
on the fucking peel. Like you missed the whole point of life in the first place, So it's a pretty crazy thing. I think psychedelics are amazing like that because they can really kind of open your eyes to like what's real, show you like what's really important, and it could get you back like grounded to what's fucking meant to be and what's good for you and shit.
Yeah, dude, I know, I completely agree. I'm like way overdue. Like I used to eat mushrooms about every 6 months just for like a cleansing and just like a refocus, kind of thing. It's been fucking years. Like I've been talking to my wife about it recently.
Yeah.
Like I'm due for her and I to like go out in the woods for like a long weekend and just get out of the shit. I mean, especially after once all this shit that we're in right now like kind of settles down a little bit.
Right. And I think, people tend to think it's like practice makes perfect and that's how you get good at shit. But I realize it's more than that. It's a weird balance of things. And it's a weird conditioning of your mind. It's like a kind of like honing in on this kind of like more Zen way of being. And then everything kind of falls into place from there. And it's like, if you can find that place in your mind and you have the patience and you have like the heart and like the determination, the creativity, all these things connect like one big puzzle and all the pieces just start to fit together. But if your mind isn't there, those pieces will never align.
Yeah.
It's like, it's crazy because I was like just working and working and working and just grinding my ass off every day. But it's like, you'll hit these plateaus and you don't really get any better at what you're doing.
Yeah, completely.
And
yeah,
sometimes
100%.
to get better. Yeah. And it's like, and the weird thing is like to get better, maybe you need to like take a break. And it's so weird. It's like to get better, you have to like not work. You know what I mean? It seems like an oxymoron.
Oh no, dude! I completely
that's
agree.
True.
Yeah, no, totally. Because like, I've been working with Arribas Brothers over at Disney now for 8 years, and when I started there, it was right at the very beginning of when this whole industry started getting fucking crazy, and and for me, it was like I was trying to do both. I was trying to do my full-time gig. I still love working there and what I get out of it. Not even the paycheck, but just like the experience alone. But I also am a piper at heart. I love making pipes. I love the function of things and et cetera. And the money was also doing really well. And I was like getting up at 5 a.m. I would work on my torch until like 9 a.m. I'd take a shower, run my kiln cycle, and then drive an hour and a half to work, and then work on the fucking torch all day. Get off at like 9, and then I'd call my ex-wife at the time. I'm like, hey, can you turn the kiln on for me so I can finish up this order? And by the time I got home, my kiln was hot. I'd wrap up this order, and I did that shit for like 6 months. And dude, part of it was why I ended up getting divorced. I started sucking at everything because I was so like just determined to quote unquote find my success in a sense, And I had to sit back and think about like what the fuck is my real true definition of my success. And for me, my definition of success was being able to sit out my back porch on a Sunday morning and have a cup of coffee and not have to worry about anything.
God, you're so right. And I finally fucking realized that shit too, man. It was like my whole life I've been hustling and grinding, and I always felt like it was never enough. Like no matter what I was doing, it was never enough. It's like I always needed to be a little more than what I was,
Yep.
And it was just one day it fucking hit me and was like, no, you just have to just fucking be what you are, and that is enough. Just do you.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
just do you, and that's it. And like I realized that there's like this kind of authentic, like really like original style of art that's kind of like laying dormant inside of me, and everybody knows me for like the dragons and shit. But I have this weird abstract kind of flow, and I get these visions all the time of this shit, and I'm finally starting to make this shit. And it's like, this is kind of something that's been bottled up in me forever. And I remember a long time ago, maybe 15 years ago, 20, 15 years ago, I was trying to kind of make some of this stuff because it's kind of been in me forever. It's kind of an organic, alien, flowy, weird-looking style. And I didn't really have the skills back then to pull it off. And then I kind of like got sidetracked, and I got on this like kind of more like trying to make it as like an artist, like a career. It was like more of a hobby back then when I was just making sculptures and shit, you know. Then it became a job, and I was like trying to make money, and then the whole dynamic changed, and my whole perspective changed, and that's kind of when I started to go down a bad path. It was like when I started to focus more on the money and started looking at it more like a job, you know. And that ultimately like did a lot of good for me because it kind of established me in this industry, and it like made me kind of like I'm known for like the dragons, and you know, there's like money there, there's bread and butter there, and I like dragons. Like, dragons are part of my childhood, they're part of my life. It's always been kind of a thing for me. But it was always kind of like blocking out this other thing that really like wanted to fucking blossom, you know? And I'm finally at this place now where I'm like making time for all this stuff, and I don't feel busy. I'm just kind of taking my time about it, and I just do what I want when I want. I'm like, oh, I got this cool idea for this weird sculpture. It's like, I actually had this vision the other day, and it was like this really cool, symmetrical, awesome. It's like, to me, it's just like, I'm really excited about it. Like, I freaking love this idea. And I saw this thing just dancing in space, like floating in like a black empty space. And it's like these two mirroring orbs with these like spikes that like cradle around them. And like, it's kind of hard to explain, but it's really cool. I'm actually making it right now.
Awesome.
And this voice in my head said, Starseed. I know it sounds kind of cheesy, but it was like so bizarre. I like saw this clear image of this thing and this voice that said Starseed. And it was like, oh man, like, it's something about tapping into this fucking, like, I think they call it like your flow state or something like that. You know what I mean? And like, I've been able to kind of like get into that lately, and something's going on where I'm like, I feel like I'm channeling these visions from like another dimension or some shit. Like this, it's weird. You know what I mean? And like, this fucking thing came to me with like a name already attached to it. And I was like, well, I'm going to make this. So I'm pretty excited about that. And it's like, I kind of find them in this weird place too, where I can probably make less work than I ever have. I produce work so slowly, but I'm happy while I'm doing it, and I care about everything I make.
Yeah.
Nothing's just like work. I'm like,
and that's important.
And there's, and I think that that's ultimately like my happy place. That's like where I'm meant to be. I don't need to be in a rush. And I recently worked with Salt, and it was amazing. I fucking love that guy, and he's an amazing glassblower. But it's like I can't really work like that. He just crushes.
He's a fucking grinder.
Yeah, and he gets so much work done, dude. And I'm just like, for some reason, like that kind of flow, and that shit doesn't work for me. Like, I take my sweet time, and I'm really tinker with shit till it looks just how I want it. Like, I'm a perfectionist, and it drives me crazy. But it's like the nature of me. Like, I can't change that. It's just how I operate. It's always been like that. And so I just kind of dialed into what I am and accepted it, you know. And I just go a little slower, and I make shit that I'm stoked on, and when it comes out fucking awesome, I'm like, there's a really good sense of satisfaction there. And, you know, the glass, it's not always like a lot of fun. It's like really stressful, especially the pieces I make. It's like you get 2 weeks of work into something, and you get lots of stressful fucking assembly. You know what I mean?
Yeah, fuck yeah.
So there's a lot of stress there, and there's a lot of symmetry, which means a lot of tinkering and making things match and look just right. And it's a frustrating, stressful situation. So I found that like taking my time and going slow about it makes it just go a little smoother, where I don't make as many mistakes, and then that kind of alleviates some of the stress. And then I also started painting in my free time, because painting is like a weird way of countering that. It's like I needed to be able to create and just like have some fun with like colors and just splashing some color around and some paint around and just getting some clues. I'm a visual person. I love color, and I love to see it like moving and stuff. I think that's why I was drawing the glass, is all that movement.
Yeah.
And making patterns and letting it move. And then I was able to do that with paint. I found this like kind of acrylic paint pouring style, where you just put these like simple patterns down on a canvas, and then you can stretch it out, and you can watch all those colors move and flow, and it's like stretching, and it's like a lot of the same stuff that draws me to glass, you know. But it's easy to do, and it's like fun, and it's not stressful. It's like the opposite. You know what I mean? And
dude, I was stoked when I started seeing you posting those paintings. And I remember when I first saw the couple ones you did, and you were calling them like dragon skin or something of that nature. And, you know, which I thought was great, because it ties into your line of work that you're doing in your glass, you know, as a companion in a sense. But it's also like, I know what you mean. Like, I did this podcast because I needed an outlet outside of glass that was something creative for me to do, and it became a creative thing for me.
Yeah.
You know, and like lately my glass has been full time in the studio since I'm not working right now. So like the podcasting has kind of gone to the side. Like I was stoked to talk to you today because I haven't recorded in like fucking 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Besides, just getting to talk to you. But yeah, man, it's that having that secondary outlet outside of the studio is so important. It's because again, like you're saying, if you're just grinding all the fucking time, your glass just takes up all your energy, and then you have nothing to give to anything.
Yeah, and you end up plateauing in your glass.
Yeah.
And it's like you pour everything you have into this thing, and then it just like throws up a wall in your face. And it's just like so weird. It makes perfect sense though once you figure it out. It's like life is forcing you to find balance.
Completely. Yep.
And when you do it, you know what I mean? When you actually fucking listen to your soul, like there's a kind of like intelligence that's like not in your mind. It's like in your chest. And if you can like learn to hone into that, it's like kind of like it guides you, and it will fucking it kind of just tells you what's up, and like keeps you straight, keeps you from making stupid choices, and less, like I feel like all your ego shit is in your head, and if you can like get more in your heart space, you can like fucking make a lot better choices and like kind of flow a lot smoother through life. And
yeah, dude. So
fuck, man, it's like
so like I want to back up a little bit too, because like you talk about the flow state side of things, and for me, I haven't had a flow state on the torch since I've been at Disney, because I've got people talking to me and watching me all fucking day long. So like the only way I would actually get my flow state is if I was like dozing off because I was just tired, kind of thing. It was just fucking weird. And getting back to the studio here and not working, I started doing some live streaming. I did it for like a day and a half, and I realized I was more focused on conversing with people watching me working than I was actually on my glass, like I do at work. And at work, I focus on my glass. It is what it is. But I wanted to continue live streaming, but I realized, like, you know what? I have thousands of people watching me on a daily basis. I've been doing this almost 9 years now there, and I need to work in my studio where I've got nobody watching me. And it took me probably about a week of, for one, not feeling like I needed to rush through my day because I have all this time now. It's like, okay, I have to get everything done today because that's what I'm so used to doing. And so even my wife kept telling me, she's like, dude, fucking chill out, because I'm trying to do 1,000 things in one fucking day like I used to do, and nothing got done because of it. And then I stepped back and I took a couple of days off from the torch. I went home, sat in my bed, got on. I started learning how to use PowerPoint Pro to start doing video edits and shit, just something different. And then I came back to the torch, and like day one back on the torch, man, I was like working, and I just kind of like went somewhere for like an hour and a half, and I didn't realize it until I came back, and I realized like, holy fuck, I'm glad I got there, and I miss it so much because it just it carries on in life, like having that flow state, and your work will transfer into everything that you do because you realize it makes you more conscious, I think, about yourself and what's around you. Like you heard that thing in your head, I had a similar thing, dude. I was sitting here working, and it was kind of, I sent my wife the text too. It was kind of weird. Like I had this vision of like a cover of an art gallery or something, but the vision was me standing next to this wall piece. It was like probably 20 shelves on a wall on a case, and it was full of glass. It was all this colorful glass, and every piece had a spotlight on it. I had kind of a spotlight on me. I could see what I was wearing, like the whole thing. It was fucking like I was there.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And
wow, yeah.
And like I actually like drew a little sketch of with the vision that I had in my head, and I was trying to like think about after having this and sending my wife the text about it. I went back to that thought, and I was trying to like visualize what was actually in those cases. So I could, you ever like have a dream where you make something in your dream and you're like wake up like, fuck, I wish I could remember what I just made in my dream because I want to like go to my studio and make that. You know what I mean? It was one of those kind of things, like trying to figure out like what was in that vision that might get me to that place where I'm gonna have this photo on in front of an art magazine or something. It was fucking crazy, but it was I only got there because I've been able to let my brain just kind of do its thing and get that flow state going.
Yeah, I mean, it could be like one of many outcomes, you know what I'm saying? Or maybe it's like a glimpse into some other reality or a glimpse into your future. Like, it's tricky, man. And like, when you start thinking about time and you bring that into the equation, nobody really knows what the fuck time is. And like, everyone tends to think of it like a solid thing, like it's always reliable, it's always going to be the same, but it's not. Everybody perceives it differently. Like, when I was young, time was fucking slow. It took forever for Christmas to come. You know what I mean? Now fucking years fly by. Fucking weeks are going by like days, and it's fucking crazy, man. And so it's just a trip, like thinking about all that kind of shit.
Yeah. But it's nice to be able to be in the studio to think about that kind of shit, you know?
Yeah, no, it is. I mean, it's cool. I'm finally at this place where I'm just kind of slowing down, and I'm pretty stoked to do it. I feel like it's just been a lot of hustling and just grinding, always feeling like I got to get up and work.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, and like, man, the weather's turning nice now. It's like all sunny out. I'm just like finding any excuse I can just to hang out outside and lay in the sun.
Yeah, hell yeah. So that being said, dude, how's your body holding up?
I just fucking realized, I don't get enough exercise. Like, I used to be really physical. Like, I was really into like a lot of different sports and skateboarding and snowboarding a lot, and just keeping myself active, And then over the last, I don't know, I'm getting old now. I'm almost 40, and since probably in my 30s, pretty much, I kind of slowed down and started focusing more on work and like not finding that balance, like we keep talking about, and like, part of that balance is exercise and taking care of your body for sure.
Yeah.
So that's something that I kind of been slacking on, and I'm trying to fucking get back into that. I actually just ordered a treadmill, which is pretty hilarious. I never really thought I would do that. But yeah, I did that, and like I take my dogs out we go on jogs and stuff. But I have this young hound, and she pulls really hard, and it makes it hard to like walk her. So I've been taking her out, and I bring the skateboard out, and I just like throw the skateboard down, and she just gets so fucking stoked. She's like freaking out, when she sees me grab the skateboard, she's freaking out. And then like I throw it down and we just go. She pulls me like, I don't know, maybe about 20 to 30 miles an hour down the freaking street, just flying down the street. All the neighbors just like love it. They all smile. And
That's awesome.
It's pretty hilarious. Yeah.
Hell yeah. How's your wrist and stuff doing?
My wrists are fine. My eyeballs were kind of giving me issues for a while. I actually was working with Salt not too long ago, and he kind of helped me out. He was like, because I have these split lenses that I've been wearing forever, and I have like a 3-5 split.
Okay.
And I like sitting there thinking that I'm looking through the 5 all the time, like when I need to, you know what I mean? But my eyeballs were giving me issues, and he was like, dude, you need to just get straight 5s. He's like, you're probably cheating a little bit and looking through that 3 when you're not supposed to, and it's just catching up to you. And he was totally right. I got straight 5s, and my eyeballs have been doing way better.
Cool. That's good to know, because I've been rocking 3s forever. And
yeah, did you?
I thought about getting 5s.
If you're working with colors and stuff, which I know you are, I see your work.
Yeah.
I would strongly suggest getting 5s. I mean, I know people like Salt, especially, like, no, because he works so fucking hard and he spends so many hours grinding. You know what I mean? That he's gonna like pretty much put, he's putting his body to the test on like what we can handle and what we can take. And he was kind of like, yo, you need 5s. And then he was right, because I was doing the same shit he was. Like, not everybody works that hard or that many hours or that hot, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And depends on what kind of stuff, depends on what you make and what colors you use. There's a lot of factors in there. But he let me know that even clear glass, once it gets to a certain thickness, even then you need 5s or you're burning your eyeballs.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that. I'd been working all kinds of thick clear, thinking it was all good with 3s. But
it makes sense, man, because lately I've been dealing with some eye issues. And that's what I was kind of wondering.
Yeah, you need to get yourself some 5s for sure. I'm so relieved I did, because it was like I was actually getting pretty frustrated for a little while there. I was having really bad eye problems, and I was like, man, am I gonna have to quit blowing glass? Like, what in the fuck? And I bought this heat shield thing too, because I noticed my eyes were getting really dried out. Well, the heat, I work really hot a lot of times. I make some big stuff, and it's just like so much heat, so I get like my face cooked and my eyes dried out, and it's fucking hard on you. And so I bought this like heat shield and like the 5s glasses, and then with the heat shield and the 5s, I'm like pretty good. I'm like fucking haven't been having many issues there now. So
yeah, that's killer. I use the shield at work. That's something I've been doing too.
Yeah,
same thing. And it's interesting too, man. Like the last 2 days, I've actually been back at work, not in Disney, but at our warehouse working. And just because of local regulations, we have to wear face masks. And so I made my own cloth mask, whatever. And I've never actually like protected my face with cloth. Like you see all these women on, glass blowers, always protecting their faces, which I totally understand. And I mean, I'll tell you, dude, having this fucking cloth across my face, just over my nose and my mouth and my, a little bit, has been a game changer, like completely. I was kind of surprised. I wasn't sure if it was gonna be uncomfortable or what, but it's just, I think it's gonna protect my skin. I don't know, from skin cancer necessarily, but it's definitely, even having a shield up and then having that on has been, it's been nice, different kind of situation.
Yeah, honestly, I've been kicking myself. Like, it took me 20 years to figure this out. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, totally. I'm in the same boat. It's like you get in this rut of just doing the same shit. But again, like you said, dude, you and I both, like, we're doing this 20 years now. We grew up in a production, studio in a sense, and
Yeah.
like you said, like kind of going back to you talked about taking time off. I literally took 2 years off making pipes. I would make one here and there if someone asked me for something, but I had to walk away from it because I was in the same boat. I wasn't sure like why I was making pipes for. Like, was it for the money? Was it because I wasn't enjoying it? And I had to step back and like really look at it and just kind of reinvent myself, which I'm actually having the opportunity now to kind of revitalize my WyzGuy line and kind of change their look a little bit. I'm adding feet to them now, like just kind of a whole different style. And also, like, not to mention the technology has changed in terms of function, with the different joint styles and stuff, which I finally just the other day, I've been using the same fucking set of tweezers for probably 5 years. And I finally bought myself a new set of tweezers. Like, I've got all these new brass tools and shit. I've been using graphite forever. I was like, dude, I got to step down. I'm like wasting my fucking time now. So I've got brass tools now. All my joint tools are all brass, no more graphite. It's been it's important to.
It's hard when you're like old school glass blower like we are, and it's like the whole thing evolves, and like you got to make sure and keep evolving with it.
Yeah.
And it's like these younger cats, they're just getting into it, and so that's kind of how it's introduced to them. So they just jump right on with all that new tech, all the new tools, everything that's like, you know what I mean?
Yep.
But we're kind of like that old saying, can't teach a dog new tricks kind of shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of like set in our ways with our old shit and just doing our shit, doing what we're used to. And But that's like the evolution of everything. You know what I mean? You can look at every industry in the entire world, and as it evolves, it's kind of like the next generation of guys that grab it, they push it farther, and so on. And it always goes like that,
Yeah, and even right now, this fucking crazy shit that we're all dealing with right now with this coronavirus, like, it's a whole nother time for us all to evolve, whether it's live streaming or how are we going to deal with our shops and our clientele. Do we go directly to our clients now? Like, there's all kind of different you know what I mean? Like, it's interesting.
I feel really bad for all the people that are struggling right now. I mean, I've been really fortunate, and my business has been pretty good for me lately, and like I'm just kind of like just grateful that the money's there and the orders are there.
Yeah, same.
I just try, it's pretty sad thinking about all the struggling out there. There's a lot of fucking sad shit in this world. A lot of people suffering, a lot of animals suffering. It's fucking heavy.
Yeah, it's crazy shit. That's like I did an episode a little bit ago on the importance of an emergency fund. I did a series for the first quarter just on talking about getting your financial house in order before this Corona thing even started, and just because of how important it is, it's easy for an artist to set yourself up in a situation to where you can be financially successful, but it's also easy to not do it. And just I think right now is a wake up call for a lot of people. For one, those that aren't treating themselves like a real business that say they needed the money and they couldn't apply for the any kind of business thing or any because they don't have proof for businesses. They're not doing employment taxes and that kind of shit. They kind of shot themselves in the foot, in a sense, or getting stimulus checks because they're not filing taxes. Whatever. There's a lot of little things out there that people are finally realizing, like, hey, I should actually be doing this stuff because it's important to be successful.
Oh yeah, and I mean, a lot of us are just stoners. We're not like really good at like regular kind of job shit, where it takes a certain level of maturity and a certain kind of like drive. Where, we're like, most of us are stoned all day, and we're like pushing all that shit to the side, all the business shit. We're all trying to push it all to the side. We don't want to deal with that. You know what I mean?
And that's the importance of having an accountant.
It's like there's taxes, and then there's all the, there's just all the whole, even the social media aspect of this shit. I get like burnt out on that stuff, and it's like, I need to be on that all the time just to keep this shit growing and keep it, booming. And but it's probably the most important tool we have. You know what I'm saying? I don't hardly use it at all. Sometimes I go a month or two without even posting anything. And it's just crazy. Like, I realized in this game, I used to always think it was like 90% about what you make. And then I realized it's not. It's like maybe 50% about how much and what you make. The other 50 is like how you fucking market it, and how you conduct your business, and how all the other little shit that goes along with that.
Yeah, and especially right now too, with everybody being stuck at home. Like, I was listening to this YouTube show I watch called Think Media. Like, they just hit like their millionth subscriber. So these guys, like, they know what the fuck they're doing, and they were saying the stats were showing that like TV and anything online streaming is up 75% in terms of how much viewership it has right now. So like
Yeah.
exposure for yourself right now for anybody listening to this or just in general, it's huge. It's an opportunity right now that, you know, I wish I would have invested in companies like Zoom and shit, you know, fucking 6 months ago before all this started. Because it's like, you know, the
Yeah.
live streaming stuff, it's just it's going through the roof.
I know, man. I have buddies that are like making money on stocks and doing stuff like that. I just don't know anything about any of that shit. I'm just such like an artist at heart. I just want to create and hang out with my dogs, and that's about it. You know, if I can get by doing that shit, I don't even want to know about stocks. I don't even care. You know what I mean? Like I'm good.
Yeah,
I don't need a lot. That's the thing, man. Is I realized like to be happy, it's not about always chasing this money and trying to fucking acquire all this crap. It's just about just being stoked on what you already got and shit. It's like happiness is just a choice. It's not something that you fucking get when you get rich or something. You know what I mean?
Oh, dude, completely. Because like when I moved my wife down from Boston, like her trailer that we moved to U-Haul was mostly Funko Pops and books, and I have like enough shit where I can just throw in the back of my car and just go live anywhere, you know, kind of thing. So it was just kind of, you know, it was kind of funny, like her and I, just that different personality. It works for us because we're kind of a yin and yang kind of situation. But I'm the same way, bro. Like simplicities of things. I always enjoy business and like marketing and money in general, but I don't do anything for money. I do it because I enjoyed what I'm doing. You know, the money drove me for a while because of bills, obviously, and that kind of shit and the stress of it.
Right.
You know, but in general, it's like, you know, waking up in the morning makes me happy.
That was the other thing about money. Yeah, and for real, and if you can just find that just being stoked and being grateful and, you know, waking up and like when I wake up every morning, I pretty much just like look outside or I go outside and I just kind of like look around at the trees and I just like kind of think about life a little bit and I just kind of like try to feel like kind of a little bit of a sense of gratitude for my life and just everything I have. And, you know, and none of that shit's money based. It's like all the fucking dopest shit. None of it's money based. And then I realized too that like I'd spent my whole life worrying about money because I never had a lot of money. So I always had, like you're saying, always having to worry about bills and where your next paycheck's coming from. And I think that a lot of people can relate to that. It's like a lot of people can say, oh yeah, it's like easy for you to talk about money and not be worrying about it when you have a lot of it. But like, I don't have a lot of it and I'm still not worried about it because what happened was I realized that it doesn't change anything. Like I'm still going to go through my day the same way. I'm still going to be me and I'm going to do me and I'm going to do all the same shit. And whether I choose to like sit around and stress out about it or not, you know, it's like I found a way to almost just have faith that like the universe will provide. Like just do you and stay true to yourself and stay true on your path, you know, and just keep doing that. But don't worry about it. Just have faith that doing that is enough and that the universe will provide. And it is, you know, I mean, I've found it to be true and it's been like a huge help for me. It's like almost like I've been able to just not take things so seriously, not worry about stuff, take a lot of stress out of my life and just kind of flow. I almost feel like I was in the river before and I was just trying to swim upstream. And eventually I realized, I'm going to get carried down this river no matter what. So what the fuck am I fighting it for? You know what I mean? I'm just going to stop. I'm going to stop fighting and I'm just going to let it carry me. And then it was like I was just on an inner tube drinking a beer. You know what I mean? Like fucking boom.
Yep. Yeah, and it feels good.
It's like, yeah. So just fucking letting go, man. Just giving up. Like it's almost just like surrendering to life itself. Just like surrendering to this whole thing. Just being like fucking do what you will. I'm just along for the ride, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Hell yeah. Yeah, that's why I want to talk to you today, man. I'm glad because I know I've had a feeling we wouldn't talk a lot about glass.
Glass is always in the background. It's like it's always there. It's always like it's almost like the end result of all this other shit we're talking about. You know what I'm saying? It's like you can get all these other things in order and in line and everything in your life flowing right, then your glass is going to be tight, you know?
Yeah. And
that's a weird thing. I hope that a lot of listeners or, you know, people that are listening to this are going to pull that away from this. That it's not about working as hard as you can. It's not about those long hours in the shop. Yeah, sure, you do got to work and you do have to have some discipline, but it's more about like a mental perspective. It's about getting your mind right, getting balance in your life and all these things right and into this right kind of flow state. And then you can create your best shit. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's a big picture thing. It's not just in the shop grinding out, making that shit.
Yeah, dude.
in your head, you know.
Yeah, completely. Because when you're fucking stressed out, man, you can't that whole blind by frustration concept. It's like when you're in a studio, nothing's gonna happen right. It's like you wake up like those. I had a friend of mine who unfortunately ended up committing suicide last year, and he had like that kind of woes me. Everything's gonna go to shit. Kind of. Nothing ever good happens to me, and when it does, it's bound to go bad. And it's like, dude, all you have to do is like tell yourself like that ain't the fucking how it's gonna be. It changes everything.
Yeah. Man, that's how I used to be. You know what I realized too is there's a certain way of existing where you literally make a choice. You can look at everything in life as a shitty thing. You can find a way to explain the most beautiful, most amazing things and put them in like a weird negative light. Like, for example, you could be like, maybe somebody's really excited about baseball and they're watching a baseball game, and you could be like, how stupid is this? Like a bunch of dumb guys out there hitting a ball with a stick and running around like cavemen. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So you can paint anything in a negative light, or you can paint it in a fucking magical light. And you can do the same thing with life in general. Like, you can be the person that's just like, oh, we're just here on this rock and we just get old and we die and it's just all suffering, Or you could be like acknowledging all this intricacy and all the beauty and all the magic and all the possibilities, all of what we don't really know, and even like spiritual aspects of what may be and stuff. And it's like, people are so quick to just be like, no, you die, it's just blackness and that's it. And it's just like, we all have a choice to make there. We all choose a perspective. Nobody knows what the fuck happens when you die. There's no definitive proof there for anything to prove anything. It's all this like what you choose to believe kind of based on your own personal experiences. And maybe some people feel like they know because of some experience they've had or something, but it all gets down to what you choose and how you choose to be. And like, choosing to look at life is like you're just a piece, you're just a bag of flesh and blood and bones, and you just get old and decay, and life is miserable and torturous. It's just like, that's just a choice, and I would never choose to live like that. Why?
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Why? That's not it's like we're all here. Like, wouldn't you want to enjoy your time here? And it's all fucking just how you choose to see it in your own perspective, man. And they think that they're being real. You know what I'm saying? People that paint the world that way, they're like, no, I'm just a realist and I'm smart. They pride themselves in how smart they are because they don't get caught up in all this, fantasy to them or whatever. It might seem like fantasy or nonsense or whatever, faith or whatever. They're like, no, we're more science-based and we believe in, things that you can prove and see and touch. And it's like, well, there's a lot of shit in this planet that you can't see or touch, but it's real, like radio signals and all kinds of shit, you know what I mean? The interconnectedness of everything. But
yeah,
it's just a trip,
dude. Like, so like for me, like my favorite things to do besides being out in nature and going out in the woods is just going to fucking Disney and walking around. And I'm going to a place where it's like fairy tale princesses and fucking magical bullshit that's all fake and created by artists, which is what I appreciate about it and the history of it.
Right.
But it's a place where I go, and when I'm there, I'm in a suspended reality, and I fucking love it. It makes me happy. It makes my heart happy. It makes my soul happy. It's like, for some people, they like going and having a large pizza at Domino's or whatever. I like walking down fucking Main Street at Disney and smelling the fucking cookies cooking in the bakery, And
dude, I would love that too. I want to come out and visit you, actually.
Oh, dude, yeah, absolutely.
I've been when I was a little kid, and it was like so much fun. But I recently, maybe a year or two ago, I went out and did Busch Gardens out in Florida. I mean, I know it's not Disneyland or Disney. Are you in Disneyland or Disney World? Disneyland?
I'm in California. I mean, I'm in Florida, not California.
Okay, yeah. So I was out there in Virginia and went to Busch Gardens, but it was just like I hadn't been to a amusement park in so long, and riding those roller coasters and shit. It was just so much fun. I was like, damn, I need to go do this more.
It's a great escape from reality. And I mean, like I say all the time, like I'm literally like living in Fantasyland because that's because of where I work, and I'm mostly I was there most of the time, So it's
awesome.
It's different, but it's all mind state, dude. And what got me going years ago after Katrina happened, I remember hearing a story about this little boy. I think it was like 6, and got rescued off his roof of his house, down there, and where everything was just completely fucked. His entire family was dead in the house below him in the water, and he got rescued from a helicopter. And I remember hearing that story, and it was just like, I have nothing I could ever complain about ever in my life that compares to what that kid had to go through, and
I feel you. There's so much sadness, and it's crazy, dude. It's really powerful.
Yeah.
I think that, and that's the other thing too. Like that brings up an interesting thought for me is like, we don't really like realize how special this life is, and we don't really appreciate it enough. Most people, you know what I mean? Most people float through life and it's kind of like, oh, I'm bored today, or oh, today sucks, or lots of negative shit going on. And even if it's not negative, maybe it's just kind of blah. Like you're just kind of like, yeah, life is just kind of blah, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard to always be experiencing life as like this magical thing, always in the moment, always being so excited about every little thing. But I mean, it really can be like that. You can sit here and look at a fucking leaf and just trip out on the intricacy and how amazing it is. It's like looking at this ivy right now. It's like we live in some trippy ass place, and it's like it's just so full of intricacy and detail. It's like you can just trip out all you want. It's just a matter of like kind of getting back to that childhood perspective where you just like see the magic and everything. But it's like in order to see that, sometimes you have to also see your own mortality. Mm-hmm. And that's something that in our civilization, especially in the Western culture, we hide from it. We hide from even getting old. Even getting old is something that we're not comfortable with. See, we try to like hide from things that make us uncomfortable or make us face certain things about our existence, certain parts of our reality that are maybe not so pleasant. At least we view them not so pleasant. We tend to think that getting old is a bad thing. We tend to like dread it. Like, oh, I'm getting old sucks. I'm getting all, my body is falling apart and yada, yada. It's like this whole shitty experience, but it doesn't have to be like that, and then we take these people, we don't want to see it. You know what I mean? We hide them in nursing homes and we want that shit out of sight and shit. It's like once like society is just like, okay, like this is no longer something that we're feeling good, about. So we just kind of like push that aside. So like just getting old in general is something that we kind of hide from. And then death is something that we kind of are almost in denial of. You know what I mean? Like nobody ever sees a dead body. Yeah. Nobody ever sees a dead body. It's like something that we're all hidden from. And it's like, it's something that should be acknowledged. It's something that should be out in the open, that should be seen. It shouldn't be viewed. It's like we're all conditioned to see it as this morbid, sad, horrible thing. But that's not how it should be. It's a natural part of everything, and it's a natural part of our cycle. And it should be something that we should embrace in order to embrace our life right now, living in the moment and appreciating everything that we have, appreciating the magic in this reality, in this life, and how fleeting it all is, how temporary it all is. Seeing, having a skull, like a lot of old fucking philosophers and old, like, fucking really, like, creative thinkers, really fucking badass people throughout history, especially, like, a long time ago, they would have a skull in their workspace, on their desk or wherever they spent most of their time. And that human skull would be there as a reminder of their mortality. So they would always know to be, like, living, more passionately, because it's like you always have this reminder that, like, death is coming. You better fucking make the most of now, because death is coming.
Yeah, completely.
And not to mention, it sinks in something else a little deeper, where you start to see things a little more clearly as far as like the choices you make and stuff. Like you're not gonna, if you're sitting there with a constant reminder of your own mortality, you're not gonna bicker about little stupid shit. You're not gonna get caught up in little arguments, little things that really aren't that important. You're gonna see what's more important. You're going to see that this, we only have so much time here. You're going to waste your time bickering about some stupid bullshit that really doesn't matter. So it's this constant reminder of how precious fucking life is. And we don't have that here.
Yeah.
We've done that away. We've swept it away.
Yeah, especially right now, dude, like every time you turn the news on and the update that we're getting, it's like, especially here in Florida, like I get my daily news update, for the virus stuff. And it's like, 500 more people are infected and 65 people are dead, and it's like this. It's a constant reminder. And for me, I was gonna stop the updates, but I want to have these notifications because it's fucking reality, and it's the reality that we're all going through right now. Some people want to say this is a bunch of fake bullshit, but it's the reality, and it's I hope that this time right now that we're all going through is making people wake the fuck up and understand that our life is short, like you're saying, and we should celebrate it. We should celebrate life. We should celebrate death, getting old, the whole 9 yards. I mean, fuck, dude. I can't wait till I can go. I mean, like I haven't seen my kids in a month now because they live an hour and a half from me, and my wife works for Bank of America, so she's being exposed to this potentially every day. She was actually in bed with a fever for a week, and she had to go get tested. Thank God she was negative. But like as of this weekend, it's been 2 weeks since that happened, so I wanted to make sure that it wasn't a false negative, that potentially I could have gotten sick, the whole 9 yards. So I haven't seen my kids now in like a month. Like we FaceTime and we talk and text and whatever, but I can't wait to just go see them and give them a hug. And like human
Yeah.
touch and human existence and community, I think right now is being shown how important that shit truly is, and how many people take it for granted. You know, I'm looking forward to going to Disney and stand in line for 2 hours for a fucking ride, just because right now I can't at all.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. I feel you.
all the shit we
I
take
mean,
for granted.
hopefully, if anything, I know, and if anything good comes of this, it might be like people getting back like more of just a sense of basic human compassion. You know what I mean?
Completely.
I feel like we lost that as a species. I feel like that what happened was we lost touch with spirit. You know what I mean? And I don't mean religion. I mean spirit. And we lost touch with that, and we all became so ego based and so money. Just it's all about money and fame, and everybody's just trying to get there so much. And it's like, it's so gross. I mean, the whole planet is fucking dying like so fucking fast. Also, these rich assholes can just line their fucking pockets, and there's gonna be nothing left. And it's like, all for what? None of this shit. You know what I mean? It's like money and all, and power and all this corruption, all this greed. It's just destroying the entire planet. It's fucking so gross.
Yeah, it's amazing when you see the stats for like the pollution levels, how low they are right now. Like I even saw a thing where there was like the seismic people that check out earthquakes and shit. They were saying like right now the Earth is at its lowest vibration that they have felt in like over 100 years because people aren't moving right now. There's not traffic on the Earth, so the Earth has like a vibration that it has, you know, and that because of that they can now sense like small seismic activity that they weren't ever they couldn't find before because of all the other activity that's been going on. It's fucking crazy,
right?
You know.
Yeah, no, I like tend to think of Earth as like a human body, and like I feel like we're like humans are like some weird cancer. We're like some disease, some virus, and we're like slowly killing it. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, go back to like the Matrix and Mr. Anderson. You know, not Mr. Anderson, but Mr. Smith and his whole, monologue about us being a virus. You know, I agree.
Yeah, no, totally. And I mean, I feel like that's kind of what's going on inside us. You know what I mean? And I think it's almost like. That's why when you kind of tap into that whole like spiritual thing, and you can kind of like feel like it's almost like the entire universe exists inside of yourself, and it's like it kind of maybe it does. It's like I don't know. This shit, it's just so weird, you know what I mean? Like, fucking weird shit.
But dude, I agree though. That's why I walk barefoot as much as I can because I love being connected to the earth.
Yeah.
You know.
I love that too. You can feel it. There's something. Yeah, man, there's something that we've lost touch of. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
and I don't think hardly any of us can quite put our finger on exactly what it is, but I think we all feel like we're missing something.
Yeah.
It's weird. You know what I mean? It's like there's a part of this puzzle that's not here, and we all fucking kind of feel that. And there's something bigger, like, than just trying to be some famous rich buster. Like, that's not what this shit is about. It's so stupid. We're so fucking far off of like what we should be.
Yeah.
It's so crazy, man.
Yeah, I think it's a good time and a good reset for people to just wake the fuck up, you know, and kind of and reflect on their lives. You know, maybe they've been in jobs that they've hated for the last 20 years, and now they've been furloughed or fired or let go because of their company can't afford them. So now it's like, okay, so what passion did you have when you were a kid that potentially you can take that and like make a living at? And now's the time to like develop those skills because you have nothing else to do.
Yeah.
You know.
Right.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, that's a cool thing for sure. It's like, you know, it's a trippy time for sure, and hopefully that, you know, some good does come out of it. It sucks that a lot of people are, you know, going through stuff. And
yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
we'll
dude.
See, everything's always changing, man.
Yo, I know. Tell me about it. So on that note, I do want to talk a little glass with you because I've been wanting to pick your brain actually just off the air in a sense on some techniques that you do because I've always appreciated your color application and the way that you present your work. I mean, obviously, like you said, you know, you're nitpicky at it and you're always tinkering, and I do the same shit. Like I know what symmetry is, you know, when it comes to certain things, especially with the critical eye that I'm under at work, you know. So
yeah, it can be a real pain in the ass.
Yeah, definitely. So for one, color application, do you have like a variety of ways that you do your color prep, or because, you know, like for the longest time, as we know, things have evolved, going from coil potting to stick stacking to vac stacking to whatever. And I've actually personally gone back to like shit that I did 15 years ago that I didn't know was a thing that people are doing today, and it's actually made my work look better. So like, you know, color application, like what are you doing these days?
Well, I have a few ways that I go about doing things. If I have colored tubing, like if I have some colored tubing that I bought, I do a lot of sculptural stuff, and it's like made out of like hollow sections and solid sections. You know what I'm saying? And I normally need the solid to match the hollow. And so what happens is like your hollow, it's basically the same as if it had a clear core. Like it's going to look the same as if it was solid and had a clear core. You know what I mean? Because it just has that empty space inside of it. So like I'll take one of those tubes and I'll take a tube and I'll sleeve it over like a solid rod. You know what I mean? And I'll melt that onto a solid rod. And then I'll use that for all my solid prep. And then I'll have like the other tube for my hollow prep, and then the preps match each other. If you don't have colored tubing, then I will take like a fat solid rod and I will just swipe like lines of color down the surface of it and go all the way around it. And then I'll melt that in, and then I'll do that again. And I'll put 2 layers on there and melt that in. And you always want to just lay that shit really hot so the one stripe butts up to the side of the next stripe and it doesn't leave any gaps. Kind of like mowing a lawn. You kind of like, hit right up against that line, trace over it a bit. And once you get 2 layers on there, it kind of takes a lot of the stripiness away from it. The color gets a little thicker, a little more evened out, and it looks pretty good. And then that'll also give you a nice clear core, so it will match your hollow nicely. And then I'll do the same thing with the hollow. I'll either, depends on the color I'm using. Like if it's a dense enough color, I'll swipe it over clear. And then sometimes I'll even swipe clear over the top of that, depending on what color I'm using. Some colors, they work a lot nicer with a little clear on top of them.
Yeah, definitely.
And so if it's a color that likes to boil or is a bitch, then I'll try to put a little layer of clear on there. But like otherwise, I'll just like double swipe it onto a tube. I usually use 25 mil, 25-4. Okay. And that's like a pretty standard size. I mean, it depends on what I'm making, but that seems to be like usually what I use for stuff. By the time you get 2 thick layers of color on that and blow it out, it's like you can get a pretty massive prep. If you need a bigger piece or something, you know what I mean, you obviously use a bigger tube. But that's something I do. I still do coil pots, but I don't do them as much as most people. I think most people, that's kind of like their go-to. Mm-hmm. And for me, it's like kind of a more rare tech that I would use.
Yeah, so I was curious because so for me, lately I've been doing, I'll take like a piece of like 19 and then make a Maria on the end of it. And then I'll gather a full stick of color on that Maria and keep the color the same width as that Maria is basically. And then get the whole fucking thing hot as shit, and then I'll take a tungsten pick and then just go down the center to create hollowness to it in a sense, and have a blowpipe that's all flared up, like usually like 18 mil, and put that on the end of it, and just immediately blow air into it, and then I'll stripe it in clear, I'll stripe it in clear, and then I'll sleeve it in clear also, so I get like an extra layer of clear over it. And sometimes I'll even blow that out and stretch it out, and then sleeve it again, depending on the color. Like some of these like ketchup and some of the new CADs are a little thinner, so they're too much clear can be bad if you want to have a solid color. But like there's so many colors that we have. Like my brother and I were talking, color is expensive, especially some of the newer shit out there that you're paying $150 a pound for this stuff. But like 150 pounds of color, or a dollar, worth of color, you could turn that into like $5,000 if you prep it properly because of how much color. It's so saturated, you can make that shit go forever.
Yeah, me and Salt were just talking about that. Like these Nora colors, they cost a shit ton, but they're actually really fucking nice and they're really dense. And so if you know how to use them and spread them out like that, you can make it go a long ways. Like Salt was telling me that he puts all his colors on top of clear, and then he puts clear on top of that. Mm-hmm. So they're all sandwiched in between clear, and then you get a lot more that way. You know what I mean? It's just spreading it out a lot farther. But for me, I don't usually like a layer of clear on top because I find that when I make like a sculptural piece, you end up with these little clear seam lines on all your welds. You know what I'm saying? It's like that little layer of clear is going to create a little line right there.
Yeah, totally. Or you'll have like the. Go on.
Oh, I just like when it's like all color on the surface and the color just welds right up to the color, and it just, you know what I mean? It just looks proper like that.
Yeah, totally. No, I completely agree. I guess it depends on application.
Yeah, for sure. And I tend to steer towards like colors that can just take a fucking beating because most of the stuff I make, I just put the glass to the test and I just like overwork the shit out of everything I do. You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah, me too.
Most of the stuff I make, it's never very simple. It's always like it takes a lot of fucking lit and a lot of melting, and by the time it's done, it's like the glass is just like, okay, I can't take any more. Like, don't fucking even touch me with a hand torch,
Yeah, dude. So the other day I took some serum. I haven't used serum in forever, and so they had it on some Occasionals on sale or whatever it was. So I got a pound of it, and then I had some of the blue glow. I don't remember what the fucking name of it is, but I've always wanted to try doing like a CFL with a glow over it, just to just to play with it, you know. And so I did my color tech, and I just beat the shit out of the color. Just because, like you said, like I'm rocking a Carlisle. I know you rock a Carlisle sometimes. Are you still using this Carlisle? Is that your main daily? Is that your daily driver?
Yeah, definitely is.
So I got done with it, and I was like, I hope for one that the CFL still works, because you know obviously it's going to, because it's just a color spectrum thing. But even like the glow aspect, I wasn't sure, because I pulled it out into this big fucking tube, and a lot of that shit doesn't work when it's hot. So I had to wait for my kiln to be cold the next day. But I got my black light out and a couple different lights, and it fucking glows, and it changes from a pink to a yellow. I was stoked.
That's cool. Yeah, that's trippy.
And
then it's like probably changes the way it glows too, depending on the lighting, huh?
Like, yeah, and
that background will like make it look a little different and stuff.
Yeah, I think so. I haven't used it yet. I'm actually going to be using my kilns on it right now, so I'm going to use it today. I'm kind of curious myself.
Yeah.
Just having fun with it.
Glass is cool. It's cool as hell. It's such a cool medium. It's just it's such a temperamental, difficult fucking medium to work with, but it is really cool. It can be really, really rewarding.
Yeah, dude.
I feel like most ideas that I have are just end up as like, oh, that didn't work. You know what I mean? Every once in a while you hit a good one and you're like, oh, sick, it worked.
Do you tend to sketch your stuff out, like when you have because you had this vision, so you went and started working on it? You said, did you make some sketches? Yeah,
I did try to sketch it out, and I actually made a starseed already, but it's like a little different than this one that I actually had this vision of. This was kind of like, I was making these things called pea pods, and like I had this idea, it was kind of like my pea pods, but they kind of started transitioning into these kind of more trippier looking things, and then I had this full vision of it's like the starseed that I actually was talking about earlier. It's way different. So it's kind of like the full transition. It's like the pea pods are almost like a transition from like this other thing I was making into like this starseed thing.
Cool.
But yeah, it's fun. It's a fun style for me to play with. It's like I get to just I'm making them all out of clear. And so I don't even have to think about color, and I don't have to deal with colors, and I just deal with just shape. You know what I mean? And and they're not functional. So it's just purely shapes to me. And that's how I love to work like that, because it takes all the thought out of it, and I can just start having fun and just making shit. And so it's dude. I see that really good. In my head, I see this shit really good. And when I start trying to think about colors and function, it's kind of like throwing a wrench in my plan. You know what I mean? I don't even want to fucking go there. I just want to make it exactly how I see it in my head. And I don't even want to and then the colors and stuff, it's just, it can become really fucking hard sometimes to try to figure out what kind of colors to use and how to tie all that together and make it really look how you want. So I like to make them in clear, and then just fucking sometimes I'll sandblast them and oil paint them. It's just like a weird art piece, you know?
Yep.
And then sometimes I'll have them coated in Dichro or something, or sometimes I just leave them clear or whatever. And I do actually have plans on making some colored ones, but I think right now I'm just kind of in this rough draft phase where I'm just kind of making some forms and stuff and getting some, I think this starseed is going to be like a design that I will recreate, kind of like a canvas for me, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So I could always come and make new ones and new color schemes and stuff. But I think that my abstract sculptural work and my mind has kind of been leading up to this starseed thing for years, and it's I finally kind of found it. You know what I mean? It's I've been searching for this thing.
Yeah, no,
and I've been making these abstract forms. Yeah, I've been making these abstract forms, searching for this thing, and then I finally found it. And I haven't, like I was saying, I haven't made it yet. I'm making it right now, but I feel like it's the one. This is one of these pieces in my life that is going to become a real part of my steez, and it's going to be something I'm going to make forever. It's going to be something that I'll make with other people, and they can put their little style and their coloring in it. You know what I mean? It's something really, really fucking special to me.
Yeah, dude, and, I completely understand. Because my WyzGuy line, when I started doing those guys, I wanted to make them a really simple form just to begin the process of them. But I've always, for the last decade, I've had this image in my head of the direction that what I really wanted to create. And that's where I'm at right now is I've been breaking all kind of shit because I'm trying. I'm glass is getting cold because I'm so focused on one specific space that I'm trying to manipulate and change and fine tune. And then I go to my kiln and it's chink 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 because the whole thing's fucking cold. But I have to do
Mhm.
that to get to the point to where that vision is going to come to reality, like where you're at now, like you're saying, this evolution.
Yeah, it's crazy, and it's like something so exciting for me because it's like literally I've been searching for this for like my whole fucking life, and it was never quite right. I'd always try to get this shit out, and it was never quite right. And never, I could always just like pick everything apart, like it was never something I was fully happy with. And then this forum popped in my head, and it's perfect in every way. It's like one of those weird paintings that like interlocks with itself, like
Like MC
a
Escher?
fractal or something. Yeah, like a Escher or maybe like a fractal or something. But yeah, it's like some weird form where every angle is like it's really hard to explain, but it's almost like a mathematical equation all in itself.
Yeah,
Like
I can kind of
you
understand
know,
it.
like like the Fibonacci shit and like all the weird like fucking all these weird like
Yeah, the flower of life and
it's
all that
like
stuff.
like the shit that we naturally find pleasing. It's naturally appealing to us, like as humans. It's like in our DNA to like fucking certain proportions and certain certain ways that things are built, and like even the universe follows these rules of like the way it creates things, which is what the flower of life is.
Yep.
That's just the universe's like blueprint for how it makes everything, and this is kind of like something like that. I honestly feel like I channeled it from like another dimension. It's like the way that this thing is shaped, the way that this thing is put together. It's so fucking God, it's hard to explain, but it's like some shit I don't even have words for. But it's like I can't find words for it. But it's just so perfect in its own way. It's like
I can't wait to see it.
It's fucking cool. Yeah, I'm excited about it. So I made one that's kind of like I actually really like this one I just made, but it's like still a little bit more like my old line of like teapods and stuff like that. But it's kind of like the transition into the Starseed. And I think it was when I was making this one. It's when I got the vision for the Starseed, is because it was kind of like part of the transition to get there. But
yeah,
it was cool, man. It was like having the voice and like it even said the name of the thing, and it was just like that was like even more, confirming that was like some real shit or something. Life is just such a trip, dude.
Oh, dude, I love it. So like I didn't smoke pot for God. I've been on and off for like probably a year now, and
yeah,
just recently, like probably about 2 weeks ago, I've just been getting back on my normal thing, with my flowers, and it's like I had to get I just needed to take a break for a while. Just I take Adderall for my ADHD, and I wanted to see if I could like just focus on life, taking my medication that I'm being prescribed by my doctor. But my doctor wants to get me off the Adderall and get me on medical marijuana because he's a medical doctor, which is fucking killer. So
nice.
I've been wanting to experiment, a little bit with it and just kind of see where my head is, especially right now is the perfect time for me to do this when I'm not at work. I can smoke all day if I want and just kind of feel, how do I feel the next day? Do I still feel groggy? Am I still kind of absent-minded feeling, on or off the stuff, etc.? And like I'm like more focused right now than I've been smoking, and I think it's because honestly it's because of the amount of different strands we have. I have access to medical shit, so I'm not like buying mids from the fucking dude down the street, kind of bullshit like I was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So, but that with the flow state, I'll smoke a bowl, I'll get on the torch, and then I get in my flow state, and I'm in the same thing, dude. Like I had that vision the other day I was talking about with the whole gallery thing. I get the same way. Like I'm working on a piece, and like all of a sudden I hear something, and I don't know if it's like a voice in my head or if it's the glass talking to me or my guardian angel or whatever the fuck. But like something's like, hey, go this direction with it, and it's fun, man. I miss that shit, a lot, and that's one of the reasons why I like smoking pot. Is just because, for me personally, it kind of opens up that part of my head that has been closed off for like the last year and a half. It's basically.
Yeah, man, I feel you. I think that's why I've always liked weed. Is it totally like it taps into the artist in all of us. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's something. It's this weird creative spark, and it kind of gets you in that place where you can appreciate all of the fucking beauty, and you know what I mean? Like shit tastes better, it looks cooler. It's just all this fucking enhancing like experience. It's like fucking when you're in that, it's like it's fucking fueling. It can be really, really fucking powerful. But it's like anything. It's like there's always a balance in everything in this world. So it's like when you got to have that kind of the tiredness and the kind of worn out and dragged and unmotivated, that comes after it. It's like I wake up and fucking take a dab or smoke, and it's like, it gets me fired up and I'm working and I'm going good. But then like right around noon or something, a few hours in, I'm kind of burned out already. And I'm like, fuck, I shouldn't have got stoned right when I got up. You know
Yeah,
what I
and that's
mean?
why I don't. And that's one of the things I learned. That's why I want to
Yeah.
like walk away. Same way I walked away from the glass for 2 years because I needed to like relearn some new habits in a sense. Because
Yeah.
like even today, I was got in the studio. I'm like, I think I'm gonna smoke a bowl real fast, but I knew that if I did that, I wouldn't have the clarity that I needed to have a positive interview with you. And just in
Yeah. Like,
a respectful sense.
I fucking just got stoned right before we talked, but like, I had the thought maybe I shouldn't, and I just did it anyways.
Well, no, it's cool, dude. 'Cause
Because
I think I think it's different from
little,
the two ends. Like on your end, it just you have the open floor to talk. Where I'm sitting back here trying to think of like to follow along and then ask questions pertaining to what you're saying. And I know there's times where where I've gotten baked before an interview, and who was that? I can't remember who the hell it was. It's gonna pop in my head at like 4:00 in the morning.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's gonna drive me crazy. Anyways, I got so baked before the interview, and I was like just so enthralled with the conversation of what he was saying, just interesting shit that he stopped talking, and it was like this little bit of a pause for a second. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm having a conversation here. This isn't me listening to a podcast.
Oh, yeah, I got it. All right. Oh yeah, my job.
Yeah, exactly. So I've had to learn to wait until afterwards, but yeah. But also, dude, I wanted to ask you too. So that fucking gigantic white dragon that you made, for one, like hats off to you, brother. Just the design of that thing and the size and scale was fucking crazy. And then
Thanks, man.
And then it's like dichroic.
That was definitely the most difficult. Thanks, bro. I mean, that's the most difficult thing I've ever tried to do or done. And I got to give props to my boy Doc Glass. He helped me every step of the way with that thing.
It was amazing. So, because you mentioned about getting things coated in dichro, so is that why that was had that shininess to it, the metallic-y kind of iridescence?
Yeah, that was a post coat. Yeah, so I made it all out of clear and I sandblasted it and then I had it coated after the fact.
Ah, so it wasn't even. So that's why I wanted to ask. So it wasn't even white; it was just sandblasted.
Yeah. I mean, I would have needed a fucking crucible dip just to make the body. You know what I mean? Like, this shit was so stupid. I used a chunk of tubing. I bought a chunk of tubing. I think it was 80 or 90 mil. Like as heavy wall as
My God.
as heavy wall as I could find. Yeah, like as heavy wall as I could find. I used like over a foot chunk of that shit just for the body.
Jesus.
And then
Christ.
I started making those dragon heads into rigs. Just like the big dragon head, and it's a rig. And basically, like the first one of those I made was just the head for this dragon. And I was like, well, making a big head could be a rig. You know what I mean? I could just make that a rig. But like the first one was just like this dragon's head, and it was just like. Just the head of this guy was like bigger than my normal dragons. And I was like, what the hell am I doing? Like, I was sitting there making these parts for it. And the whole time I was going, I'm just fucking up. Like I had this doubting voice in my head the whole time just going, what are you doing? You're just fucking up. What are you doing?
I know what you mean. I've been there.
Like, yeah, like you're just wasting all this time and you're making all these parts. You're literally spending like weeks making this shit. And just to like have some huge failure trying to put it all together, like how are you even going to do that? It was so dumb. Like, but somehow it worked. And I have this weird process for making a really big piece. I mean, that dragon weighed 10 pounds when it was done.
It looked like
it. The weight of it. Yeah, it was fucking insane. But like, there's been heavier pieces to be made. But I feel like when you make a certain style piece, you know what I mean? Depending on where you have your handle, how big that handle is, and then like. How the piece is built, like you can always pull it out and add more attachments to it, and just it keeps growing, it keeps getting heavier and heavier. Kind of like that sunken ship those guys do, that shipwreck. That thing weighed a ton, and those guys put so much shit on it, and it's like impressive as hell. It's like, holy crap, I can't believe you guys did that. But I feel like this piece was challenging in a different way because it was like my regular dragon. I made my regular normal piece, but I made it everything upscaled, and so it was like all the proportions were the same, but just giant sized, or not proportion. I don't know if that's the right.
No, you're
like
totally. Yeah, makes sense.
Okay, yeah, and so it was just so fucking challenging. Like I got the handle coming off this little hole on his head, you know what I mean, where the mouthpiece is, and like I can't have some giant, huge handle coming off of that spot because it's just not going to look right. It's not going to flow right. There's not even space for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I have basically like a 15 mil weld right there. Going to like a 25 mil handle, maybe a 20 mil weld. And then it kind of like bumped out to like a 25 mil handle that I was holding that whole thing on. And like 10 pounds of glass isn't really 15 mil, 20 mil weld. It's kind of sketchy.
Yeah.
And then it's like coming off of his forehead where all the weight of the dragon's on the whole other end of the piece. It's all big solid legs and big solid feet, and like I think the legs were a couple pounds each. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so it's just ridiculous. Like putting attachments on there that are like a couple pounds and trying to get that all cleaned up and buttered in and just getting that thing to stand right, getting the stance right, and like it was just such a stupid undertaking. And like I honestly feel really lucky that it worked. Like I think the glass gods like really blessed me because I have this kiln, and like when we fucking finished that thing, it couldn't have been like a half inch bigger.
I was going to
And
ask
we
you.
didn't
That's what I
plan
wanted to
any-
ask you.
Yeah, we didn't plan any of that shit. We just kind of went for it, and I was just kind of eyeballing stuff, going, I think we'll make it. I'm thinking about making it about this big is about right, and like we basically maxed out that kiln. Like we couldn't have even made it a half inch bigger because like there's all these shit I didn't think about. It's like the angle of the handle has to come out of that door hole.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So your piece has to sit in there at a certain angle to get that handle out right. And then also, like, every time I put an attachment on, I have to run some big bridge. I have this big network of bridging all over this thing. And that's taking up space. And all these spaces and awkward angles and shit. And it's like, if any of that shit goes wrong, you can't put that piece back in the kiln. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
then you're fucking...
You're fucked.
So the whole thing was so fucking stressful, and it was so difficult. But it actually went fairly smooth. And I still look back at it like, I want to make another one, but do I really? Like, it was so hard to make, and like I kind of have this feeling like if I do it again, it's probably not going to work out. Like that was maybe a once in a lifetime thing.
Well, dude, it's almost like an exclamation point at the end of your sentence for this career you've had with your work. It's like now you can move on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, honestly, I almost feel like I retired after that. Like,
I could imagine.
And started taking things slower. Like I'm telling you how I slowed down and shit, and I just don't work like I used to. But it's like I work on things that I care about. And I take my time with it, and I think that it almost feels like I'm retired in a sense because it's just like just chill. Like, all that grinding's over, and it's great. I mean, I'm stoked to be able to do that. And I think the painting has been a huge part of that. It's like a little bit of a supplemental income, and it's like fun for me to do, and it takes away some of the stress and it refreshes me on the glass. And
Yeah, gives your body a break.
It was like such a key fucking thing for me. And when I found it too, there was something in my heart that just knew it was like, this is fucking what's up. You're on the right path here. Like let's get this, And it was, man. There's been a few moments in my life when it seems like things just fall into place and it feels like it's just like meant to be, like some destined shit,
Yeah, completely.
And that's when you're following that voice in your heart, you know what I mean? Not in your head. That's the one in your heart.
Well, it's like the whole philosophy of like, you have these doors that get opened for you, and they're only going to be open for you specifically, and you can sit there outside that door all your fucking life and wonder about going through it, and then one day it closes and that opportunity goes away. It's just people, and the fact, I mean, I think, it sounds like what you've been going through, like you kind of woke up a little bit and you're sensitive to these voices in a sense, or these visions or, whatever, because you're not so fucking, your brain is now open because you're not so bunkered down from stress about having to fucking work.
Yeah, and also I think what happened was I was able to like this really powerful psychedelic experience I have. It basically just leveled my ego. It was just like, the fuck out of here. And obviously I still have an ego, and I've noticed that it kind of over time has kind of crept back in, and it's like I kind of slowly fall back more and more into my old self, but I try to like hang on to some important shit from that I learned from my experience.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like a lot of that a lot of just coming into this new fucking way of being was just the whole experience, and it was just kind of waking me up to like fucking showing me a better way to be, really.
Yeah, completely. That's what it's all about, man. I wanted to ask too, but you're talking about the dragon heads, the rigs. So
yeah,
I something I appreciate with glass and evolution is like watching artists. Mike Luna, for instance, is another guy. I had him on the show recently, and
yeah,
seeing
Mike's
his,
awesome.
and and another dragon artist, but you guys have totally different styles, which is what I love about both of you guys as artists, is that you guys create the same thing, but they're totally fucking different. And you can obviously tell the difference. I know Mike's from yours.
Yeah.
But he started doing go on.
No, you go.
It's okay. So he starts doing the claw rigs, just like a single claw on a ball, which I thought was a great evolution, because like for instance, like say go back to like elbow, for instance, he started doing his dinosaurs, and then he started doing like the dragon claw pendants or the dinosaur claw pendants, and they fucking blew up, which then inspired all of us as artists to start making matching pendants or something like that. I wasn't getting anywhere near what he was getting for his, but still, it made me think about, hey, I need to start doing pendants, and then it made the pendant line. People became more appreciative of pendants in the industry, but then so again, that's the evolution. So now seeing like Mike's evolution with these ball rigs with these claws, it's just a point from something he's learned from making his dragons, and then seeing you do the same thing with like the dragon head. It's a unique thing of yours that's kind of an offshoot from your dragon line. I think it's a beautiful piece. It's intricate. It's got a lot of detail and style that goes into it. But then I saw that collab that you and Ryan Fitt did, dude. I love Ryan's work.
Yeah, I love that thing.
But like,
I love Ryan's work.
I think it's probably one of my favorite collaborations that he's done with an artist. Is that piece?
Thanks, bro.
Fucking
honestly,
amazing.
I think that's my favorite. Thank you, bro. I honestly think it's my favorite piece ever. Maybe that big dragon I made, but like this fucking head that we made together. I mean, that piece is. I'm actually like talking to him right now about buying it off of him because I fucking love that thing, and I don't keep any glass. I sell every fucking piece I make. I sell it, and this is the one piece that I'm just like, yo, I actually want to keep this, and that's fucking weird. I've never felt like that before. It's really fucking weird, and so it's man, it's crazy. When I held it in my hand, and it was just like, I want this. It's just fucking. I love that thing, and Ryan's he's the man, dude. He's such a cool dude, and he's just such a fucking talented, skilled motherfucker, man.
Yeah, I need to get him on the show. I've wanted to talk to him for a while now. Maybe you can like help me make that connection.
He's a smart dude, and he's really fucking good at what he does.
Yeah, I remember back in the day, cool. Like talking about the money situation, like when they were doing the 10 mil Mondays or the 14 mil Fridays, where the fuck they were doing those auctions every week, and they would put it up at like 4:00 and then like put a price next to it, and then you watch their comments, and it's like dibs goes down for like 200 fucking people all within like 1 second. It's just like, and that was back in the collector's market days, and that was for me that when I was working at Disney, and I'm sitting there watching this going on, like, man, do I need to quit my job get back in the studio? Yeah, the thing.
I know, and that's kind of that same shit happened to me, man. As I started seeing all these other people and how much money they were making, and it fucked my head up. Like my head was
big
spinning
time.
Around,
yeah.
And I was sitting there thinking about trying to like, how can I get that money? You know what I mean? And that was a toxic path for me.
Yeah,
that was the worst time of my life, and I fucking so happy I was able to like just get back to my just doing me and just being stoked on me, like just doing me, and that's enough, and just being stoked on that,
Yeah, and it's interesting, dude, thinking about it now, like Ryan Fitz, he's like the full circle for you in a sense too, you know what I mean? Seeing the money being made, now you do this amazing collaboration with him that's like your favorite piece ever.
Yeah, it was fucking awesome, man. And like I actually talked to Ryan quite a bit, and or not quite a bit, but here and there we chat, and he's fun to talk to, and he's a cool dude, and we have a couple other pieces that we've been talking about getting going, and pretty excited for that.
Did he do any glass work on that piece, or was it all the electroforming?
He just did all the cold work and stuff,
okay.
And then he's got his apprentice here at Cortland that helped out with it too, and it just turned out really cool, man. He did all like the plating with like the two different tones of the silver and the copper.
Yeah, sexy.
And then it's got the piece is like two tones because it's like clear and sandblasted clear. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It has like the two tones of metal and the two tones of glass. And then there's like a bunch of sections that are all like etched in, like almost like scales in it or something. Like if you've seen that kind of like brimstone looking shit that he does.
Mm-hmm. So
it's all like it's all hand carved, and it's all fucking really. It's just so cool.
It's like a Lamborghini. It's a high end designer item. That's how I see that piece.
And yeah, dude. And honestly, like I thought that thing would sell like a long time ago, like right when we fucking made it, and we kind of. I don't know, the timing's kind of weird with this whole virus and shit. I think selling really expensive pieces is a little tough right now, but I have actually sold a few. Me and Salt have had a couple sales recently on pieces we made, but for some reason that Ryan Fitt one, it's like everyone wants to inquire about it, but no one's pulled the trigger yet. And it's like, well, fuck, I'm going to keep this thing because I want it.
Well, you mind me asking what you guys are asking for something like that?
We're asking somewhere around 15.
Okay. That's what I was thinking 10 to 15.
Yeah.
For sure. It's worth it. I mean, just like I said, it's a high-end designer piece it's one of a kind. That
honestly, for me, that head is a lot harder to make than a full body dragon.
Oh, I'm sure.
Like, I can make, and everybody thinks that the head is less work and it should cost less and it's probably easier to make. It's like all these assumptions about it that are completely wrong.
Oh, dude, totally.
It's like so fucking. So difficult.
All
it's
the
like
characters I make.
Thing.
No, I completely agree. All my characters that I make, like the last 2 days I've been making Remy from Ratatouille, and like I made 4.5 of them in 12 hours that I worked over the last 2 days. And for one reason is because I haven't done them in a while, so it took me a bit to get back on the groove. But like I spent day one making I made his bodies, I made all of his hands, his ears, all the little accessories and shit. And then yesterday was just making heads, and it takes a long time to make a fucking head, no matter how big or small it is. You know, people, the brain recognizes something and they understand when something's off when it comes to heads or faces or whatever, no matter how big or small. And you know, those details, you could spend an hour on a body and then 6 or 7 hours on the fucking head.
Seriously, dude, I'm making a dragon right now with Karma, this rainbow dragon. And I just spent two whole days making one head.
Crazy.
For this dragon.
His prep work is fucking amazing.
Yeah, it's fucking beautiful. It really is. And like, you know, I used to make a whole dragon in 2 days. You know what I mean? Now I spend 2 whole days just on the fucking head.
Yeah.
And that's been the evolution of my work. Is it's like, okay, the dragons are getting tighter and they are getting nicer. It's like really cool for me to see that. I look at the old dragons and I look at the new ones and I'm like, wow, you know, really come a long way, and it feels good. But I also look at like the fucking time factor. It's like I used to make one in a few days and now it takes me a couple weeks, and it's just like, holy shit, like. And I basically sell them for the same amount of money.
Yeah, that was my next question.
But they take me 100 times longer, and it's like that was a weird time in our industry back when shit was first popping off, and it was just too good to be true. You know what I mean? And honestly, I kind of kick myself for making so many dragons and selling so many dragons. Like, I wish that I always had the same work ethic and same, like, not really work ethic. I guess that's not the right way to say it, but I wish I had the same kind of heart and standards and shit that I do now. You know what I mean? It kind of took me a lot of like maturing and growing up to realize that it wasn't, you know, I was chasing that money more, and it's like I really need to just focus on making the tightest shit I can, and the money will come. I don't need to think about the money. I don't even need to worry about that. I just need to worry about being passionate about my art, being passionate and caring about what I make. Every piece I make, I care about. I try to make everything special and everything unique, and I really just pour my heart and soul into every little fucking thing now. And like I said, I don't get a lot done, but it's like, it doesn't matter. What matters is that I like what I make, that these pieces will hold something special within them that I have infused in them. You know what I mean? It's like a part of my soul, and I infused it into this glass. And that's going to make it special forever. You know what I mean? It's going to make it some timeless thing. And at least that's what I'm hoping. You know what I mean? That's what I'm trying to do. And the money, it's secondary, and as long as it's enough for me to get by, like I was saying before, I don't need to be rich. I could care less. It's a big dick contest. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Once you're comfortable and you have enough money to live comfortably, the rest of it's a big dick contest. And like, my dick's big. I don't need to worry about that.
Exactly.
But yeah, no, it's you know, and so it's cool, man. I'm just like finally at this fucking place where I'm just like, fuck it, you know, I got it all figured out. Now it's just fucking flowing through, and not like I can't have a bad day, or I don't really want to say I got it all figured out, because obviously I'm always still learning and shit. Life is just like that, but a lot better place than I was, I guess, is what I should say.
Yeah. Yeah, you and me both, dude. You and me both. That's fucking awesome. It's good to hear.
I guess it's, yeah, I mean, I guess it's just part of growing up. You got to do it at some point, right?
Yeah, man, and it's fun though, man, because you and me together, haven't done this for 20 years. It's like we grow up within our glass, you know. It's funny how we can see our maturity levels, whether it's in our relationships or not. But it's a lot of it is in our glass and how we handle our materials.
Yeah, no, for sure. And like, you know, it's kind of funny because like I just the whole path. It's like I look back on it and I just kick myself so much. Like, but you know, I'm stoked. I am regretful on how I used to be, and some of, you know, I don't know. I don't even want to say the choices I made or whatever, but I guess it was just the way I carried myself. It was just the energy I had and just the way that I viewed the world, my perspectives. And I regret a lot of like the way I was and stuff, but I was kind of blinded by my own ego for a long time. And it took me a long time to kind of grow up and realize and really fucking get a better perspective on this shit. And, you know, now it's like, I used to care so much about my own glory, my own, you know, I wanted to get praise and money, and I wanted to be this glass god and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, I believed all this bullshit that I'd been fed. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
I it's just, man, it's so freeing to like let go of all that shit. It's just like this big fucking, a lot of weight to carry around with you, and it's just I feel a lot lighter now.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I don't care. I don't fucking care, man. I just don't fucking care. Like, whatever happens, I don't care. It's like, not that I don't care if something bad happens or whatever, but like, I used to just care too much. Like, I cared so much about all this class shit and this industry and the money and
you care about the wrong stuff.
I cared so much about all that shit. I was so caught up in it, and it was just like, you find yourself being jealous. You get like that. You get jealous of other people's success, and you start looking at things wrong. And you just get all tainted and all fucked up, and get so caught up in all this stupid shit. And this, man, I just learned to fucking let go of all that bullshit and just let life flow. It's so fucking, it's fun and it's awesome if you just let it be,
Mm-hmm. And now you're creating your best work.
So cool. Yeah, and you really do. And it's like when you're not focused on other people and you're not actually distracted by what they're doing, then you can actually kind of dive into what your authentic, real shit is. Like, I think we all have we're all artists, everyone's an artist. And I just think that some of us are just chasing it more than others and trying to, put stuff out there for more, just trying to express themselves more than others. But, like for me, just making all these dragons and getting kind of like on this dragon thing for so long, I feel like a part of the artist in me, it was kind of suffering. Like, I really needed to get back to these like star seeds and some of these more abstract forms, some of these things that were just more original and more authentic and more creative. Something that you couldn't be like, oh, is that a Mike Luna? Oh no, wait, that's a Scoz. You know what I mean? It's not that you can't even do that. It's like, not that like you were saying, our dragons don't look the same, but they're both dragons.
Right.
And there's just because they're both dragons, it's still okay. That's a dragon. It's like, I want to make shit that doesn't even have a name unless I name it. I want to make something that no one's ever seen before, something that only I make, that only I can be identified with, something that's all my own. You know what I mean? And that's
totally.
And I think that if we all strive for that, I think that's what we're trying to do as artists. You're trying to give the world something they haven't already had, something they haven't already seen. It's like, that's the most powerful thing you could do, is like, get some new shit out there.
And it's so hard, dude.
Yeah, it is, but it's like, and it doesn't get praised enough either. When people are used to something, you make fucking Homer Simpson on acid or something. Everybody fucking loves that shit because they all love Homer, and they all are like, oh, it's sweet. You know what I mean? But like anything that's like pop culture shit, that shit, people eat that shit up. And you make something that's original and creative and just straight from your own mind that no one's ever seen before, and like, you usually won't get a very good reaction. If you do get a good reaction, you won't really get a lot of money for it. It's like, it's like, until you pump it for a long enough time that people get used to it and people get like comfortable with it, and then certain people buy it, and then certain people see that those people buy it. It's like this huge chain reaction shit that has to happen. And it's really discouraging, and it kind of makes you like almost just go back to fucking making Homer Simpsons or dragons or whatever the fuck it is that your bread and butter is,
Mm-hmm.
But if you can just fucking dive into whatever that real, authentic, creative, something new, something different, something original, something creative, and you can just power through and weather the fucking storm, there's like some serious reward there. I mean, that's big. That's like some shit that will fuel you and feed your soul. It's like, it's beyond money, and that's what we all need to chase,
Yeah, man, well said. Fuck yeah. I think it's actually a good place for us to okay.
Oh yeah, it's like, like I love the dragons, but it's like, there's something about these abstract forms that's just more, it just touches me in my soul because it's just all me,
Yeah, dude, I think when you come down here to Disney and I take you over to Animal Kingdom to see the Pandora area that they have there, and like how they brought that movie to life, and like all the plant life that's in there, because like there's a lot of it's real foliage, but the majority of it is all fake shit that they just came up with James Cameron and his crazy mind. Because I don't know if you know, but Pandora, the Avatar of movies, was a dream that he had, and he like woke up from this crazy dream and like wrote all this shit down, and then it eventually became this movie. And
wow.
Yeah, dude. And like I saw an interview with him, and he actually went to the land and saw this shit like in person, and actually not on a computer, but like in reality. It's fucking incredible, dude. And it's imaginative, and it's new and unique, and you'll fucking love it. Because like daytime, it's all like, it looks like it fits in with the regular environment. It's obviously alien looking shit, but then at night, it all is lit with LEDs, and it glows at night. So like the whole landscape lights up. It's just fucking incredible.
Yeah, I would love that. That sounds like that's right down my alley.
Yeah.
See, definitely. I feel like he got that. I feel like he got that vision like channeled to him from somewhere that was like, yo, we need to like, put an important message out there for these busters, and like, this guy's the right guy to do it because he'll make it into this movie that everybody will see. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like that might be some higher fucking source of something that we don't understand.
Yeah,
Something
dude.
looking out for us or something.
Yeah, I agree.
Crazy.
I appreciate you coming back on, man, and sharing your story and what's been going on. And it's been exciting just kind of watching. I only follow a couple artists on Instagram, and you're one of the artists that I follow as like notification wise.
Thanks,
So I'm
bro.
always getting your notifications. And yeah, dude,
yeah.
it's I appreciate what you do and your work and your work ethic that you have also, because it's again, it's hard for us old OGs that have been doing this forever to get out of the production mindset, and
Yeah. Well, thank you, man. I
good to see.
appreciate that.
Yeah, fuck yeah,
That's
dude.
awesome. Much love.
Yeah, likewise, brother, and I look forward to melting some glass with you too.
Yeah, me too, man. For sure. I'm gonna have to come out and come hang with you out at Disney, and I gotta see this Avatar shit. Maybe we'll make a piece inspired by it. You know what I mean? That'd
Yeah,
be cool.
exactly. That'd be rad. Hell yeah. Well, hang on real quick while I'll stick about the air. I'll do my little outro here.
Yep. For sure.
Yeah, man. So I hope you all enjoyed this catch up with Scoz here. And again, go follow him out there on Instagram. Your Instagram is it Scoz Glass?
Yeah. SCOZ.
Yeah. So I'll have all the links and everything in there. And anything else, dude, that you want to announce or share? Any shows coming up? Anything like that? I know we're all in lockdown, but
yeah, no, I mean, I got a few things coming up but nothing I need to announce. Just kind of keep peeled if you want to check me out, and I appreciate y'all tuning in.
Hell yeah.
And that's pretty much it.
All right, cool. Well, you heard it there first. Awesome. So I hope you all take care, stay safe, and we'll see you next time on the Glass Blowers Companion. Y'all take care. Peace.